The wind whipped through the dusty plains of Texas, carrying with it the scent of adventure and the hum of a Ford V8 engine. Bonnie Parker, a young woman with a poet's heart and a rebel's spirit, watched the horizon, a cigarette held delicately between her fingers. Beside her, Clyde Barrow, a charming rogue with a restless soul, gripped the steering wheel, his eyes scanning the endless road ahead. They were an unlikely pair, brought together by fate and a shared defiance of the ordinary. Their story wasn't one of fairy tales, but of fast cars and forbidden love, a dance on the edge of the law that captivated a nation. Bonnie, a waitress from Rowena, Texas, dreamed of escaping her small-town life, a life of mundane routines and predictable futures. Clyde, a farm boy turned petty thief, sought freedom from the grinding poverty and harsh realities that had defined his youth. They met in January 1930, a chance encounter that ignited a spark, a dangerous, exhilarating flame. Bonnie was immediately drawn to Clyde's reckless charm, his daring spirit that promised a life less ordinary. Clyde, in turn, found in Bonnie a kindred soul, a woman who understood his longing for something more, someone who saw beyond his rough exterior. Their early days were filled with stolen moments, whispered promises, and the thrill of small-time heists. They weren't hardened criminals, but desperate romantics seeking a way out, a life where they could write their own rules. The Great Depression had cast a long shadow over America, and for many, Bonnie and Clyde became symbols of defiance, folk heroes who dared to challenge the system. Newspapers sensationalized their exploits, painting them as glamorous outlaws. But the reality was far grittier. Their lives were a constant flight, a blur of dusty roads, cheap motels, and the ever-present threat of capture. They relied on their wits, their loyalty to each other, and a network of family and friends. Bonnie, surprisingly, was a talented writer. She penned poems about their adventures, capturing the bittersweet essence of their lives on the run. Clyde, though less articulate, expressed his devotion through his actions, fiercely protective of his beloved Bonnie. Their gang grew, a motley crew of desperate souls, including Clyde's brother Buck and his wife Blanche. Each robbery, each narrow escape, cemented their legend, but also drew the net of law enforcement tighter around them. The public's fascination with them was undeniable. They were young, charismatic, and seemed to embody a thrilling rebellion against the hardships of the era. Yet, beneath the veneer of excitement, lay fear and the constant shadow of impending doom. One notorious incident involved a deadly shootout in Joplin, Missouri, where members of their gang were killed. This marked a turning point, escalating their crimes and solidifying their reputation as dangerous criminals. The chase became relentless. Law enforcement agencies, including the newly formed FBI, dedicated vast resources to their capture. Every town, every farm, every road held the potential for a trap. Bonnie and Clyde found solace only in each other's company, their love a fierce burning ember against the cold backdrop of their hunted existence. They shared their fears, their hopes, and the grim understanding of their ultimate fate. Bonnie, though participating in the robberies, was rarely the one to pull the trigger. Her weapon was often her sharp mind and her ability to charm. Clyde, however, was a marksman, skilled in using various firearms. Their relationship was complex, a tapestry woven with love, desperation, and a shared commitment to their chosen path. They were each other's confidantes, partners in crime, and most importantly, each other's only true home. As the months turned into years, the strain of their life began to show. The youthful exuberance had been replaced by a hardened resolve, their eyes reflecting the weariness of constant vigilance. They often found themselves sleeping in their car, moving from state to state, leaving a trail of stolen goods and evasion. The notoriety they once enjoyed had turned into infamy, and the hunt intensified. The public's perception of them also began to shift. The glamour faded as more violent incidents occurred, and the reality of their actions became undeniable. Despite the escalating danger, Bonnie and Clyde remained inseparable. Their loyalty to one another was absolute. a powerful bond forged in the crucible of their perilous existence. They knew their time was running out, a somber understanding that settled between them in the quiet moments between heists. Every sunset brought them closer to their inevitable dawn. The law, led by former Texas Ranger Frank Hamer, closed in with grim determination. Hamer was relentless, driven by a personal mission to end their crime spree. A trap was finally set on a desolate road in Bienville Parish, Louisiana. It was May 23, 1934, a day that would forever be etched in history. Bonnie and Clyde, unaware of the ambush, drove their stolen Ford V8 down the quiet road, perhaps discussing their next move, or simply enjoying a rare moment of peace. The air was thick with tension, as lawmen lay in wait, their weapons ready. The morning sun cast long shadows, hinting at the tragedy to unfold. As their car approached, the officers opened fire. The sudden barrage of bullets tore through the vehicle, ending their lives in a hail of lead. The nation was stunned. The story of Bonnie and Clyde, which had captured headlines for years, had finally reached its violent conclusion. Their legend, however, lived on, a testament to their daring, their rebellion, and their enduring, tragic love story. They were buried separately, a final irony for a couple who had been inseparable in life, yet their names would forever be intertwined. Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, forever etched in the annals of American history, not just as outlaws, but as symbols of a desperate era, and a love that defied all odds. Their story serves as a cautionary tale, a vivid reminder of the choices made under duress, the allure of the forbidden, and the ultimate price of a life lived outside the law. And so, the legend of Bonnie and Clyde continues to echo across the dusty plains, a whisper of a bygone era, of a passionate, tragic love story that burned brightly, then faded into the winds of time.